Good morning, everybody. You are listening to K4CO Radio. It is 10:30 in the morning, and we got a special guest in our studio today. We have Dr. Jacqueline Berens with the Wellness Way here in Centennial, and this is off of 9250 East Costilla Avenue, Suite 300. We are also joined here with K4CO's VP of Media Relations, Sarah Duke. How is it going? First of all, Jacqueline, Dr. Jacqueline Berens, how's it going today?
Doing well, and yourself? I'm so excited to be here with you guys.
Very excited on our end too, and we love talking about this, especially you're right down the street. We went out and kind of checked out your beautiful location, I must say. By the way, we were really impressed with it, and just kind of learned a lot about you, and we'd love to let our listeners know exactly everything that you guys do.
I agree. Yeah, the Wellness Way Centennial, for those of you that are tuning in, this is pretty amazing. They have a lot going on, and their facility is absolutely beautiful. You all just moved in pretty recently, correct?
Yeah, we've been there just 2 months. So We built it out specifically to serve the community. My hubby and I, this is our brainchild from 8 years ago. Like, we really saw this vision, and we've been working really hard to achieve what you guys walked into the other day.
It is absolutely beautiful. It is a great location. You guys are in Greenwood Village, but it really is centric. Mm-hmm. You know, you can serve Centennial, Littleton, Inglewood, Greenwood, of course, and everyone is, right there at your fingertips.
Yes.
So it's very cool. So you said 8 years you all have been in fruition.
Yes. So we've been a Wellness Way for 8 years. I'm 13 years into practice and 12 years owning the practice. So I worked for somebody for a year, didn't like it, and off you go. So really, we've just been building and growing and changing. And, the new piece of what you guys saw is really our vision to serve the community as best we can moving forward, and having the opportunity to have people come in and host workshops, as well as just service with the top line of everything, people's health.
That is awesome. And I love, so for those of you tuning in, we are talking with Dr. Jacqueline with the Wellness Way Centennial, and I'm going to give you their website as well. It's wellnesswaycentennial.com, and I have your website pulled up here. It's not only do I love your website, it's very cool. It's all inclusive, and we do health differently. Explain to us and our listeners what you mean by that.
Yeah, absolutely. So a big passion of ours, and really what we specialize in, is doing health differently. What we mean by that is a lot of people are out there struggling. They do not have answers. They've been told there is no hope. They're saying they're having to live with these things that are bothering them health-wise. Therefore, we do it differently. We really get in. We do in-person testing in terms of getting into them individually and really looking at each person's issue. So if you don't take that one-on-one approach with each person, you're not going to solve their health issues. So that's really where, we love the medical community. It's absolutely necessary, but they don't have time for that. That's not what they're built to do. That's just not the way that, our traditional healthcare works. So when it comes to these complex health issues, you really have to take that one-on-one approach, really dig down into people's issues. And by doing that, we can actually figure out their triggers. That's the key. We can solve anything. And that's how we do, looking at them, making that game plan, and taking them from where they're at today to where we want them to go, which is a completely restored person that no longer has health issues.
I think that's amazing. It really is. And we're going to get into kind of the details of how it is all encompassing. But I agree, having personally been through the medical world, and I agree, doctors are you have to have them in like the hospital scene there.
Yeah.
But really to look at a person individually and diagnose the entire thing, because it can't be, hey, my shoulder hurts, and it's like, hey, take this pill and go about your way. It really is uncovering a lot of elements to that. Mm-hmm. So it's great that you take the time, like you said.
We all are definitely very unique, so you can't, one thing won't work for everybody, which I love what you said there.
Yeah.
Kind of. And so really what you're kind of saying is, which I would completely agree with, is a lot of medicine out there is they solve the problem short term. not
Correct.
long term. You guys look at long term.
Yes, I always say our business model is not necessarily the best for us, but we're looking to have patients know when they're done with us how to care for their health.
Going forward, yeah.
Yeah, just check in with us every so often. Let's run a few labs just to make sure you stay on track. But like truly, we love you. We don't want to see you in the future. Like we really want you to be well.
That is very opposite of today's medical field,
Right?
in my opinion. It's like, yeah.
Exactly.
They definitely want you back.
For sure. How can you go and take care of yourself moving forward? Because that's
Yes.
truly, we want to wake up and feel okay.
Yeah.
I wake up most mornings, I'm like, that is a new hurt. What did I do? And like this morning was a struggle. I'll have to admit. I'm like, yeah, I have some new pains. So
It happens more and more the older you get.
Yeah. I keep being told that.
I can't not make a noise when I get up. So yeah.
It's true. You actually preemptively do it before you even move. It's this.
I know it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So if you are one of those people that preemptively are going, oh, this is going to hurt to stand up, reach out to Dr. Jacqueline for sure.
Yeah, we should probably figure that out for you.
Yeah, exactly. Things shouldn't hurt all the time. But yeah, well, you are so unique in many ways because you do things differently. And even just your services, I mean, it's amazing what you offer. I will go through them, and you can too. I mean, all of these different services that you offer, go into any detail that you want with some specific services that you will offer.
Yeah, really, it starts, like I said, with that one-on-one. So whether we have a patient in person or remote, that's the other really unique thing about what we do. We have that individualized laboratory testing, and I always say what we test is not what your medical doctor tests. You know, what we do is very detailed labs, and we're talking multiple pages worth. And so again, you're not going to get great answers if you don't run great lab work. And that is a huge difference on how we try to pare down somebody's issues is with these detailed labs. The other pieces are we are chiropractors by training. So for those that are in person with us, we love to align the spine, you know, and give that physical relief that a lot of people are hurting and needing. So we do chiropractic adjustments. We do deep tissue laser therapy. That's another added therapy that if something's hurting, it's a great way to help decrease inflammation with a great tool that has no side effects. So that's fantastic. On our new patient intake for those in person as well, we do a digital set of x-rays. So with our digital x-rays, we're able to actually see inflammation on day one. I always say it's really like our first test that we run with the patient because there's a lot that we can visualize beyond just physical pieces with our digital x-rays. And then beyond that, we have an infrared sauna and we have a cold plunge. So we have a hot and cold therapy. That's available to everybody, not just patients. They're able to book that. And then on top of that, we also run monthly educational classes. So again, a big piece of what we want to do and a big passion is so many people are hurting. We really want to educate. We want to teach people how to care for their health. And if they don't know, which many unfortunately haven't been taught how to do so, that's the first stepping stone is that educational piece.
I think a lot of people, at least when I am talking with people who have been through the doctor, been through the hospitals, when would someone come to you for chiropractic work? I think it's like, okay, well, I've had this injury or I got in a car accident, and I know that chiropractic work can be very useful in IVF situations. So when would a person really seek out chiropractic help?
Yeah, I always say, honestly, from, babies to grandparents. I've adjusted my boys. I have two boys. They're 5 and 8. From the moment they're hours old, I birthed them naturally. They still needed to be adjusted. Birthing is hard work, even if it's done under the most optimal circumstances. Things just shift in babies. There's a reason why they have colic and ear infections as the number 1 and 2 issues. That ear canal is very, very close to those top 2 bones. And if that bone slips out of place, which is very likely during birth, all that I have to do as a a chiropractor is gently push it back in. So when I'm adjusting a baby, it looks very different than an adult. But, who wants to have a kid in the pediatrician 4 times for 4 different ear infections? My boys have never had an ear infection. And it's just because we got them off to the right start. So we love to start off kids correctly. But really then to maintain optimal health, adults sit a lot throughout the day. They, also here in Colorado are very active. We love that patients want to climb 14ers and go skiing, but stuff happens. You step off a curb, you slip and fall, shoveling. So we don't always want patients hurting. Obviously, hurting is a big red flag. That means we should get you in right away. But we love to just check and optimize. And most of the time there are some what's called misalignments, subluxations that we can see right with the x-ray that indicate, we should probably go in here. And just like your car, if your alignment is off and your tread is wearing funny, you want your body to wear evenly. So there is, I always say, no spine replacement. Our medical system, though as awesome as it is, has not come up with that. So we should probably maintain an area that, again, really has no other option but to be maintained throughout our lifetime.
I had absolutely no idea that babies can get chiropractor work on them. I just think of them as just like this really, really, really fragile, just like don't touch.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, and like I said, it's very gentle. I don't adjustment the same way because their joints aren't fully formed. So a lot of their joints and their bones are cartilaginous, so very soft, as you would say. So it just looks very gentle, like just pressure is what we're doing to help things realign.
That is so interesting. I keep hoping, you said a lot of really amazing stuff. So my middle brother had ear infections all the time as a little kiddo for the first 2 years. And I actually still have it that I've had from birth. So I never put it thought about, oh my gosh, I needed a chiropractor. Is it possible, and again, I hope I'm not stepping over any lines asking this, for the kiddos that are born, and of course you have a doctor and nurse and you have the staff there, is it ever possible for these two worlds to kind of marry together to say, hey, you've just been born, why don't it being adjusted?
I would say it definitely depends on who your providers are and what they have been educated on. More and more, I would say the younger medical doctors, they're very open to what we do. They see the benefit to what we do. But unfortunately, too, there's very few that actually want to fully integrate, which it's just a choice. It doesn't have to be that way. I always say everybody's got their own bucket. That's their expertise of stuff. And absolutely, there are times when we need them. It's not that we don't, but there's times when they really need to send them to us. So, I think there's definitely room for growth there, but it does depend on who your providers are, because there are some that are very old school that just don't support what we do, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, maybe there's hope, like you said, in the future. The other thing, I love what you said. I've never heard that comparison. I mean, most of us have cars that need to be aligned. So if you have a quote unquote normal, healthy person with all things considered equal, how often would you tell a person like that to come in and get adjusted?
Yeah. If they're not in pain, I encourage adults to come in about once a month, just to be checked. And the majority of the time they do have a few things that they've done. You sleep, and I always joke that sleep is a full contact sport. People do all kinds of crazy stuff when they sleep. Most people are working, moving, doing things. The likelihood of you doing something in those 4 weeks is pretty high to where your body will stick in the wrong spot.
It's so true. I was in the shower 2 weeks ago and I'm like, what did I just do? It just happens in these very bizarre moments.
Yes.
It's usually not of course you have the big catastrophic moments if you're skiing or driving, but a lot of times it is stepping off a curb, or I slept the wrong way, and something
silly
is a little tweaked, because our bodies, I think, can handle a lot until they don't handle it.
Correct.
Anymore.
And I always say, really, truly, if you lived on the beach in the Bahamas, you probably wouldn't need us that much. You'd be very relaxed. You wouldn't probably, but most of us don't lead that type of life. And that's where we come in. We need to then look at everything. We lead very busy, very stressful, very intense lives. And unfortunately, because of that, a lot of people's health is suffering.
Well, I appreciate that. For those of you just tuning in, you are listening to a very special K4CO radio interview with Dr. Jacqueline with the Wellness Way Centennial. They are a one-stop shop, and they cover so many amazing things to get you back on track, get you healthy. They do health differently. So again, thank you for tuning in. We're going to take a quick music break, but we will be back here in about 3 minutes. So stay tuned. Good morning and happy Friday, everyone. Thank you for listening to K4CO Radio. We have a very special guest in with us for an interview, Dr. Jacqueline. She is the owner of the Wellness Way Centennial, and we've been chatting with her for about 20 minutes here. And if you are just tuning in, we do upload all of our interviews so you can see the whole thing on our YouTube page in case you've missed it, because this one is a good one. If you hurt like everyone else does on planet Earth, you need to hear this interview, how it can make you feel better. So thank you again for coming in. This is awesome to have you here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the Wellness Way is located here in Greenwood Village, but of course it serves Inglewood, Littleton, Centennial. If you are around here, they have a beautiful new location. It's 2 months old, so it's state of the art. I'm going to go through again some of the services that you offer, because I love that you offer everything in your in-house. So of course you all are chiropractors, and that's kind of the bread and butter of what you offer, but you have infrared sauna, deep tissue laser therapy, which I want to know more about.
I don't even know what that is. I can't picture it. Yeah.
It's not like I've had deep tissue massage, and I'm like, how does a laser fit into that?
And I've seen Star Wars. I know lasers.
I'm going with that. It's a different laser.
Okay.
Different type.
But
same idea.
Cool. Okay. Ultraviolet laser therapy, natural herbs and supplements. You have a whole weight loss center, lab testing, which I want to get into, alternative hormone specialists, low T center, alternative allergy testing, which is also really huge. And you have alternative sinus specialists. So there's a lot of very unique things that you offer, which, I mean, you could see my eyes kind of light up because I've hit so many of these, and my kiddo it's just all encompassing. Mm-hmm. So I know that you wanted to talk about the lab testing. Go into a little bit about what that looks like.
Yeah, it's very special what we do. A lot of people, again, you'll have a yearly check from your primary care. You end up with maybe 10 whole things run on a half of a page. That really just checks, I always like to say, for fires. Is your body on fire? Is something major going on? And we like to give the fire department carpenter analogy. So we love, again, the medical system when there is an urgent issue. They're like our firefighters. We want them to come in, put that fire out, address the issue. However, when your fire is out, what a lot of people don't understand is your house is still damaged. There's things that need to be repaired, but you would never call the fire department back. Unfortunately, that's what a lot of people do. They, come in with, infertility issues. They've been to 14 specialists. They've had every quote unquote, hormone test under the sun. The problem is they really haven't. They just think they have. They've only, again, had their body looked at for fires. So really where we come in, we're the carpenters. We come in, we assess the house in detail. We figure out what's off, what's damaged, what needs replaced. And then we actually go one step further. We go into the home and figure out, which if you haven't figured it out, your body is the house, where the fire started in the first place, because that's truly how you restore somebody's health. Mm-hmm. So in the case of infertility, that's something, again, we see very, very often. Most ladies have never had a full assessment of their hormones. You need to have urine and blood, both, to have a full picture of your hormones. And most of the time, they've only had blood work. So again, you're missing half the picture in that case. The other case is hormones are messengers. And in that case, what is not getting through? Why is it not getting through? Like, these are some of the questions that I start to ask with the patient. So if you're not answering all those things, there's most likely multiple things going on as to why a woman can't get pregnant. And it isn't as simple as let's give her more progesterone or let's, up her estrogens. Like, you can't just throw things on onto a damaged house, which is unfortunately a lot of times what our firefighters, our medical system likes to do. Even sometimes other people kind of in the functional medicine world, they like to just chuck a bunch of supplements at a patient and they're like, I'll see you in 3 months. That still is doing a disservice to the patient. Like, we actually want to figure out why everything is going on so that they can walk away with a beautifully intact home that they can live in the rest of their lives.
Do you think it used to be different? I remember just growing up, it's like your doctor knew you.
Correct.
And talked to you and knew everything about you, what you did for activities, and now it just kind of seems like it's more of a line, an assembly line type thing, where it's just you come in, what's going on? Okay, here.
Yeah,
and
it is. And I would say, and to the doctors' credits, the medical docs, they're stuck in that system. Unfortunately, they are dictated how they are going to practice, how many patients they have to see in a day. And they're very, 5 to 6 minutes. That's all they're really allotted per patient. So again, it's not 100% their fault, but I always say it's also not their training. They've got that axe, they've got that hose, they're on scene, they're, putting out a big fire. When you go into their training, they don't have a lot of nutritional training. They don't have a lot of physiology training the way that we do as chiropractors. So we really, truly think about the body totally differently. I always say we really look at the body like a Swiss watch. Like, it's this exquisite piece where everything is connected, everything works off of everything. And we love our specialists in the medical field, but for example, an orthopedic, they're just concerned about joints. That's their expertise. However, for me, I can have a woman come in who has knee pain, she's having hot flashes, she's gaining weight, she's have massive fatigue. That still all goes together. I can literally never touch her knee and help her inflammation and her gut to start to work better and her sleep to improve, and all of a sudden the knee pain goes away. And it's because your body really is truly like a Swiss watch. Everything works off of one another. So you don't even have to be focused on a certain gear, but because you're improving the entire system, everything starts to go and optimize again.
Wow. This is so amazing. I needed you 2 years ago. I mean, everything that you say is so incredibly spot on. I mean, I personally was thrown in the medical world with IVF for almost 2 years. And again, that's exactly the process that I went through. It's your hormones and we're just throwing you what's in a bottle. That didn't fix it. And so on and on and on I went, and I'm like, what? Why? It's why is this really going on? And I literally was getting my haircut. And that is when the woman was like, you need to go see a chiropractor. I was like, what does chiropractor have anything to do with IVF? And you find out it has a lot to do with IVF, because I was so focused on the front side of me. Like, it has nothing to do with my spine. It actually has a lot to do with your spine.
Yes.
All of the nerves that are down there in the lower part. Of course, I don't know the technical terms, so
You're
I'll
doing
leave
great.
that to you.
You're doing great.
But the second that it's formed, it's fused to the lower part of your spine. Essentially, that's where it comes from. Am I in the ballpark?
You're doing great. And I always say, so what you're getting at is everything is coming out. I always say your nervous system is your computer of your body. So you've got the brain, the spinal cord, the nerves, and then everything goes out and innervates. That's the technical term, but basically it connects to your organs. So if that connection is off, that's one way that we start to impact function. And that's, again, where an adjustment will help. But what else causes those connections to be off? We've got toxins. So that's a lot of what our testing involves. Maybe it's a food issue, maybe it's an immune system issue, maybe the gut's not working right and things aren't, properly digesting and absorbing. Are you missing building blocks? You need the building blocks to make your hormones. Is that the issue? There could be so many things, and that's really what we start to dive through for each patient. And then the last thing that can also impact that connection is thinking. So we always say stress or stinking thinking for our ladies. We're wired differently than men, but this equally impacts men. So we call those our 3 T's that we're really focused on for each patient. What's that trauma, that physical piece, like the toxin piece, and then that thought piece, because truly that's what builds or breaks your health on a daily basis. And a lot of people don't understand that's you've been taught wrong. You've been taught that sleep, good nutrition and exercise, like that's what builds your health. And I always love to say, not really. Like,
it's a component.
They're good habits.
You're missing a big piece.
They're good habits, but I always like to bring up, everybody's got that grandpa, that friend who is, live to be 100, a drinker, a smoker, like never takes care of their health. And so that can't be true. That myth busted that right there.
Then you got the runner who invented running as a sport who died of a heart attack in his 40s.
Yes. Or the girlfriend who's in the gym every day busting her butt. She's fit, she eats perfectly, and she gets the breast cancer diagnosis at 40.
Right.
So I always say those are really important habits, but they don't truly build health at the end of the day. And that's where a huge education comes in. But then on top of that, layering in the lab work, because every house, every body, every watch, so to speak, is 100% individualized. We have so much building going on here in Denver, but truly, even on the spec homes, no two homes are ever alike. There's always small differences. So if we don't address that as a practitioner, we're gonna run into issues trying to help that body to restore. And that's truly what sets us apart. We really take the time as docs. We've got Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Bonnie in the office with me. They're fantastic. I've obviously been doing it the longest, but I have trained them and they are fantastic. They are knowing what they need to know. They're curious, they're hungry, and they're ready to serve patients and keep growing as practitioners. They're fantastic, and we all are that way. We're always learning, including myself, because if you think about it, the world of health is ever changing right now. There's new issues popping up. Unfortunately, people are getting sicker and sicker, not getting healthier. So it's our job as docs to take that training on, which we take very seriously, to make sure we're prepared and we're ready to tackle literally any health issue that walks through our door.
I love how you say it's always changing to you, because I remember growing up through the years, it's just like, oh, margarine's so much better, and then they're just like, margarine is absolutely horrible for you.
Right?
And now it's like butter's back again, and then bacon always goes back and forth and back and forth. Oh, it's horrible. Oh, it's great. And all this stuff. And I mentioned you actually have recipes on your website too.
Yes.
And I know your main thing is chiropractic, but there's a lot of things outside of just the chiropractor, like diet is a huge thing.
Absolutely.
As to what affects your body and
we
affects your health.
We spend a lot of time educating our patients on food, and food allergy testing is something we run on almost every patient. Why? Because, if you did the Whole30 challenge in January and you were one that gained 5 pounds, this is why. You don't know the best way to eat until you've actually been tested. Everybody wants to know this. Like, what is the best way to eat? Right. I always say that's why there's so many approaches out there, and it isn't a one size fits all. It's let's run a test and figure out the best way for this person to eat. And there's things on there that come back that are healthy, but unfortunately for that patient may be causing them issues right now. And I'm talking basic things like lettuce, beef, chicken, things that are not even what you would suspect are inflammatory foods. And it's just, again, because their body is struggling. So if we can actually take these things out for a bit of time and help their body to restore, we'll retest down the road, and a lot of these quote unquote healthy foods will come back. They'll be able to go back and eat them again. But yeah, we love to educate around food. There's a lot of inflammatory foods, out into our food system. There's a lot of education around just our food system in general. Unfortunately, here in the US, there's a lot of stuff that is allowed that is not allowed in other countries. So, there's just so much that people don't quite understand, and you gotta be educated and understand these things. The ingredients that, again, are allowed here that aren't allowed in other countries. Knowing those inflammatory foods. For most people, we recommend being gluten-free, dairy-free, because for the most part, those two things unfortunately have been morphed and changed into inflammatory foods. They're nothing like the original foods. You know,
like grains and
correct.
bread. Yeah.
You know, our wheat of today looks nothing like the native wheat grain, and unfortunately for dairy production, it's the same thing. You know, these cows don't have great lives. They're not healthy. They're not, you know, the raw, unpasteurized product where all the live enzymes and all the goodies are in there. That's just not what you're buying on the store shelf. What you're buying is a very processed, packaged product that it just doesn't have the qualities of doing it, you know, with the milkman who used to just deliver it to your house. Very, very different.
That is so true. Oh my gosh. You're such a wealth of knowledge. I love this. I hope I'm absorbing. I'm going to rewatch this YouTube a whole bunch. You cover so much. And you went into a little bit about your staff. You mentioned a couple people. How big is your staff and what are their different roles?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a staff of 6. My husband, Paul, he's our practice manager. He helps run the business side, make sure that everything is going efficiently, helps train the team. There is 3 of us docs in-house. So we've got myself, Dr. Bonnie, and Dr. Mitchell. We are, again, all Wellness Way trained. What that means is we've literally taken on basically a master's worth of education to understand the body from this basically restoration phase. So really trying to help somebody that has a complex issue like autoimmune, like hormones, like gut or thyroid, and all of us are really passionate about that. So we have a fantastic staff of doctors, and then we have 2 patient coordinators, Emily and Addie, and they're amazing as well. They're that bright, you know, happy face that you get to see when you walk through the door, or who's going to take that phone call, answer those questions. So we're really blessed to have such a fantastic staff. And as you guys saw with the space, we're built to grow. Like, this is truly where we want to continue to go deeper and add more staff, and really build up a thriving space where we're servicing the community in a very impactful way.
It is so amazing. Isn't she amazing? I love being on this side of things. It's so lovely. You're just such a wealth of knowledge. I do love that you talked about, sorry, this is going back to a moment ago, but that you have to look at the doctors and then you have to look at the system. And you all are very holistic. Is that okay to say that word?
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Okay. It very much is. You're encompassing the entire person in front of you, because like food is such a great thing to be talking about, because a lot of us think it's one size fits all. So if I drink too much or I eat too much meat or whatever it is, and that isn't a one size fits all.
No.
We all have very different bodies and we can process very, very differently. Like I can have a glass of milk and Josh could and you could, and we would have a very different reaction. And instead of saying, well, let's just guess, which
Correct.
A lot of us do, I am putting myself in here. I'm going to go try something different just because. Someone will say, go read this book or try this diet or try that food. But you actually get to the root of the problem. So I appreciate that.
Yes.
And then you can say, here's what you personally, individually need to go do in your life.
Correct. I always say we don't guess, we test. That is literally like one of our, pieces that we share, because again, without that, you're just chucking stuff at a wall, hoping it sticks. I mean, on the flip side, I don't love to walk in and have a new patient that has 2 grocery bags of supplements. They're doing all these things trying to help themselves, but they probably have expensive pee. Like, let's be real.
Exactly.
Why are you taking all these things? You don't need 35 supplements. That's ridiculous.
I'm going to take a picture of beneath my sink the amount of supplements that I have right now. Very expensive pee.
Yes, I always tell patients, let us take that responsibility off of you. That is our expertise. priorities. Like really looking at each person, whether they're just trying to optimize their health and really make sure that they age well and that they're able to do all the things. They want to climb a 14er, they want to get on the ground with their grandkids, like whatever it is that they want to do, we want to help them do that. But then also the 22-year-old that was just in my office yesterday, who literally was told by her medical doctor, you are just going to have to live with this. She's 22. She's got massive gut issues, huge amounts of diarrhea and bloating and stomach pain and heartburn and acid reflux, to the point where she physically is scared to eat and will throw up. And he is telling her, we ran all the tests. You're just going to have to live with this. I mean, I personally don't know about you guys, but I don't find that acceptable. And just her mom and her were in my office, and they're so, so grateful. Most people, unfortunately, don't have hope. They don't think that their health issue is solvable, and they've been told to their face it's not. And I just don't buy that.
And that's what I like about what you do.
Out.
Yeah, exactly. And I like how, it seems like in the medical field, and especially the food industry, it's funny talking to people about health and food. And everybody is just like, they pigeonhole us as humans, where everybody, this is good for everybody. This is good for everybody. This is, you got to take this vitamin because it's good for everybody type thing. And think, unfortunately, it's happened that way. So I love how you kind of take that different approach for it.
Yeah. So you're telling me that the Flintstones gummy is not good for everyone?
No.
I am.
It is not.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure.
Should throw it away if it's under your kitchen sink.
It is legitly not. This is dating me back when I was a kid.
It's okay. But, I had them too. But
see, there you go.
I'm with you.
That was with me. That explains a lot, right? Back in the generation, you take Flintstones gummy, you'll be great.
That's right.
You'll be a healthy kid.
And then you turn around and have Captain Crunch, and all is well.
Talk about
Captain
marketing
Crunch
right there.
great.
Talk about marketing.
That's
you
lovely.
need to grow up big and strong. Take these Flintstones.
Of course. And Captain Crunch and Lucky Charms.
That's right.
And some Taco Bell. That's great.
Yep.
That's a very healthy lifestyle.
Super healthy.
Taco Bell got me through my 20s, and I'm still alive. So
This is terrible. And it's so funny. I'm so glad you mentioned this. My grandmother, who just passed away, God love her soul, about 2 years ago, smoked and drank every single day since she was a teenager until the day she died. And she was a healthy, feisty, stubborn woman.
So was my grandpa.
Isn't that
He started chewing in his teens, rolled his truck twice because he passed out because he had 90% carotid artery blockage.
Oh my God.
So this was when he was significantly older. We joke he was a cat. He had 9 lives and he lived to be 89. No cancer, no major other issues other than that blockage issue, which is why he rolled his truck.
That was amazing.
But he lived a beautiful, healthy life, feisty as hell, rancher, Texan.
Oh, yeah.
And God rest his soul, lives to be 89 with very few health issues.
Yeah.
You
either have that strong gut stomach. I am the opposite. If I have a hot packet, I am really not feeling good for
I can pretty much eat anything. My stomach's fine.
I'm so envious. Yeah. I have a weak
But
gut,
either way, there could be stuff going on. And
sure.
again, that's where we come in, because how do you know? You've probably not had detailed enough lab work to know the status of your health. And then all of a sudden, unfortunately, a lot of adults get slapped with that diagnosis out of what seems like left field. But it's been brewing for 5 years, for 10 years, for 15 years, and then they're wondering what happened.
Yeah, we just wait. And again, I am so guilty of it until it's
so many people are.
It's now this is a do or die situation, and I could have been proactive.
Yes.
So this is your PSA right now, people. Go see Dr. Jacqueline. That is what we're saying.
Yes. I always say, I believe it was Thomas Edison that said an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And it's absolutely true. Though I love to be on the preventative preventative side, unfortunately, I'm across the table oftentimes, and we're deep in the thick of a very serious health issue. Now, we're fully equipped to handle that, and I will absolutely take that person and get their house restored, but it takes a lot longer than if we would have just started them like our boys from, babies up in healthy, restorative practices for their bodies, like truly teaching them how to eat and how to sleep and, how to move and deal with your stress and deal with your feelings and your emotions. It really is all encompassing, because you can't leave one part out or you're going to miss stuff. And that's oftentimes what I see too. Like, some of these patients have come to us, and unfortunately I'm their 6th, their 10th practitioner, but I always say, I will be your last. You're awesome. In the right place, because with how we approach stuff, we'll look at it all and we'll finally get it all figured out, because oftentimes they've just had pieces missing.
So true. Well, for those of you just tuning in, thank you for listening to a special K4CO radio interview. We have Dr. Jacqueline here with us with the Wellness Way Centennial. Check out their website, wellnesswaycentennial.com. We're going to take another quick music break, but please stay tuned. We have more good stuff and what they offer. We'll be right back. Good morning. Happy Friday, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. This has been so amazing. I love this interview. I can't wait to actually rewatch it on YouTube. I'm pretty stoked for this. So thank you again for tuning in. We've been chatting with Dr. Jacqueline with the Wellness Way Centennial. Again, her website is wellnesswaycentennial.com, and I'm going to give you her phone number too. It's 303-668-2103. And again, if you've missed anything, we're going to post the interview on YouTube after a couple days. They're located in Greenwood Village, but of course serve anybody around that Centennial, Inglewood, Littleton area, and they are all encompassing, which I love. They look at you as a human being and diagnose the problem, whether it be chiropractic. I love that you have the hot sauna and the cold tub plunge. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm brave enough to do the cold plunge, but
we can coach you.
Okay. How long do we need to be in the cold plunge?
2 to 3 minutes is what we want to work towards, but a lot of people start at like 30 seconds.
How about 5?
Sure.
Seconds, okay. How cold is this cold plunge?
So we have the ability to adjust it. It'll start most likely at 45 degrees, but it can go down to like 39. It can get very chilly.
Whoa. Okay.
So these people in the, the plunge that people do like in lakes and stuff like that, the cold plunges. So
Correct.
They're not just crazy people. It's actually has some health benefits.
Absolutely, yeah. So
I'm like,
hot
these guys
therapy,
are nuts.
I know. Hot therapy and cold therapy, either end of the spectrum, your body responds to both. Each has its own things that it does. And they're not off their rocker. There actually is a health benefit.
So when we were young and we got in the hot tub and then rolled in the snow, that actually was a healthy decision?
It was.
Okay, good. I'm going to go tell my parents that they were wrong.
Right, exactly. My parents like, your body probably doesn't like that. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
I love that you rolled in the snow and then you jump in the hot tub. It's like needles.
Yes.
Awesome.
It's great.
See, we were so healthy.
Yeah.
I love it. At least for that 5 minutes.
There you go.
Everything else was questionable.
I had low carb beer while I was doing it.
I did not. There was definitely other things. Yeah. I wanted to go into some of the other. So for those of you that are just tuning in, they offer chiropractic care is kind of their bread and butter, but there's so many other things that are there. It's natural herbs and supplements. It's weight loss. If you have allergies, if you have any ailment and you have had a doctor say, yeah, just live with it, or we can't diagnose it, go see them at the Wellness Way. They will figure out what the problem is. And you're very big on education, which I love. Thank you. And lab testing, and you have the x-rays, the x-ray machine in-house, which is also very, very cool. And Zoom. I love that you can do Zoom, so you can help people all around the world. So very special. What is deep tissue laser therapy?
Yes, please.
Sure. So deep tissue laser therapy, it uses infrared light. If you're not familiar with that portion of the light spectrum, it's something that you can feel like the UV rays from the sun, but it's going to feel warm, but you're not going to see it visually. So when we use this tool, it actually is fantastic because it can penetrate penetrate 2 to 3 inches down below the skin. And with that wavelength, it goes that deep, and it helps to activate your cells to get blood flow going in the area, which in turn reduces inflammation and pain.
Interesting. And is this anywhere on your body that you can do it?
Just about anywhere. We have to be a little careful, like around the brain and the eyes. But really, we use it a lot for joints. Definitely post-surgically. Like once they get the all clear, it helps things heal faster. So that's another way that we'll use it. But definitely also too with a fresh injury, when you have that much inflammation, it will really help to reduce the heal time as well.
Awesome. I actually wanted to ask kind of a follow-up question. So with chiropractic care, and Josh alluded to this too, that new babies, brand spanking new, spanking. I like that. I just said it like that.
You're not supposed to spank anymore.
I'm sorry. Brand new into the world.
It's okay because, we got spanked when we were young and we're kind of polite. So I think part of it works.
I think it works.
Yeah.
Okay, exactly. Good. Okay. I don't retract that. But you can get adjusted the second you were born, pretty much up till till
my oldest patient is 97.
That is amazing,
and he is awesome.
That's very
and he
cool.
drives himself, and he shows up. He's very independent still.
Wow.
So I always say, truly, like babies to grandparents, all ages. I would say definitely we see mostly young adults to middle-aged adults. That's probably the bulk, but with that, again, it's truly a family practice. So you'll see all ages rolling through. We have a kids area. Like, we're very family friendly.
I saw that. For those of you that are listening, go check out their new place. That's the first thing I said to Josh. I'm like, look at all this kids stuff. Like, I just want to go play with the toys.
As do all the kids too.
Exactly. I'm a big kid in a lot of ways. Are there age restrictions on anything else, like the plunge or the laser therapy, or even like the allergy testing? It's so common for kiddos to my kiddo he had them right early on.
Yep.
Are there age restrictions for any of the other services?
That's a great question. So when it comes to lab testing with kids, my rule of thumb is if they're still breastfeeding, we actually want to look at mom. So initially who will test is mom. If there's a kiddo struggling like with hives or rashes, colic, those things as an infant. And then once they're basically done breastfeeding and they're starting to do food, at that point, whatever age that occurs, whether it's 1, 2, 3, then we can look at their food allergies. With other lab work, it depends kind of on the status of the patient, really only in terms of like pregnancy. There's certain things we may or may not run just because certain things don't change once a mom becomes pregnant on the lab side. So it's not necessarily a contraindication, just certain things we may or may not do. With that, chiropractic care is beautiful for a pregnant mom. So completely safe. Obviously, it takes a lot to change your weight and your gait, and you get this big belly. Mm-hmm. And chiropractic adjustments are very gentle and very helpful to a mom. But we wouldn't do then as well cold plunge, the infrared sauna, like those hot cold therapies. Those wouldn't be recommended during that time. But basically, even in short amounts, they're really safe for all ages. It's just learning each person's kind of restrictions, where they're at on their health journey, and what seems good, which our docs and staff are fantastic at knowing those things.
I am so glad that you said it's gentle.
Yeah.
That was my preconceived notion, is the old school chiropractor. It'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm in worse pain.
Yeah.
Because you think it's like breaking bones. I never had been to one. So it is actually from personal experience, very gentle. And
yes.
It's a loving adjustment. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved the neck one. It's like kind of like in the movies when they break each other's necks. It's like this doctor's gonna break my neck.
That's
and it's
not chiropractic work. That is.
Don't you twist necks, or is that like an old thing?
I do not. So I have a Marine that I take care of, and he's like, "Did they teach you kill moves?" And I was like, "What? Come again?"
Awesome.
And he's like, yeah, like kill moves. I'm like, no,
that was not a part of my
never
training.
taught us any of that in
Maybe
chiropractic school.
I mean, it'd be good to know.
I'm like, I'm afraid now that I know that you know that.
A Marine knows kill moves.
Correct, which is great. I mean, that's part of his job, and I'm glad he knows them. We do not. So I always like to joke, basically our insurance dictates how safe we are. And who sets that? The insurance companies. So our malpractice insurance is extremely low, and that's because we're very, very safe. And who says so? They do, because they don't want to pay out more than they have to. So I always say what we do is so gentle. It's safe for every age, every body, even those that have more complex health issues. We can adapt our style of adjusting. There's lots of ways to adjust. We can use tools. We have something called an activator, again, which is a very gentle instrument. And then, like I said, for kids, we're really just using pressure. For adults, we have drop pieces. So we have a lot of ways to do even that. And if somebody needs something specific, we're always going to adapt to the patient in front of us. We're never going to just, again, one size fits all when we're taking care of somebody.
That is awesome. Thank you all for listening. This has been wonderful. For those of you just tuning in, we've been talking with Dr. Jacqueline with the Wellness Way Centennial. They are physically located in Greenwood Village and serve a lot of Colorado, but they also have Zoom features so they can help anyone, anywhere. So no more excuses. You have to go see her. Being on this site again, it's so amazing to hear you, because we as individuals want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to be taken care of, right? I mean, I think that's kind of universal to say, please hear me. Again, from my individual journey, it's like, no, this really is a problem. Like, please diagnose and look at me like an individual, because it's not this big blanket coverage. We all have very different bodies.
Yes.
So again, I'm going to go through some of your services again for those that are just tuning in. So they offer chiropractic care, infrared sauna, deep tissue laser therapy, which sounds absolutely incredible. I want to come try it. Natural herbs and supplements, weight loss center. So they're looking at your entire body again, your gut. And then they do allergy testing, lab testing, which is in-house. The x-ray is in-house. Low T center. If you're going through IVF, I mean, it is really cool how much you offer. And that is just like barely scraping the surface, because you have a fabulous new location that you've been there for just 2 months. Please, people, go check this out. It's very cool. And if you have kiddos, they have lots of fun games that they can go play.
Even
in a tub.
adults.
Yeah, even adults.
The toys are open to adults.
Okay, I appreciate that. I definitely was looking at them. And the education piece is so valuable too. And you are educating the community. And like I told you off air, I've been struggling like this week. I'm like, well, let's see, I haven't eaten anything and I'm drinking a lot of coffee. What could be the problem? So I jumped on your Facebook page and I watched one of your reels. It's like, have you eaten protein? I'm like, nope, sure haven't. I need to go eat some protein. So thank you for the educational piece as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say, again, nobody, unfortunately, is given the manual, the playbook on how to take care of your health.
Their own particular body.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, too, the medical system isn't built for that, and they don't have the time for that. And again, it's so many people are left with these things where they don't feel well. They don't feel seen. They don't feel heard. They've been told what's worse, it's all in your head.
Heard it.
Yeah.
I absolutely heard it.
Absolutely.
Or this is normal. This pain is
your
normal.
labs are normal. It's all in your head. I'm sorry, I beg to differ. I always say you live in your body every day. You're your own expert. So if you know something's off, it's my job to figure out what and then make the plan, because most people don't get that, the plan on how to get back to where you need to be and what we need to do to get your body and your health restored. And that, again, too, a lot of people, if they're just thrown things and not given that path forward, you're going to fall off track too. So it's a two-step process. Like I always say, we got to take you from where you are today to where you need to be. And we plan all of that for our patients one-on-one, because that's truly what it takes to solve these complex health issues.
For sure. Well, thank you again for being here today. We're so excited to partner with you. This is absolutely awesome. What you're doing for the community is exactly like what we're after. So it's amazing. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you want to make sure that is said?
I think the biggest thing is kind of wrapping through. It doesn't matter the health concern. Like I said, we will see you. We will hear you. We will figure out what's going on. So whether it's hormones, whether it's infertility, whether it is low T, menopause, gut issues, autoimmune, anything in between. Maybe there has been no label put onto it, but you know that you are not feeling well. I really just want to encourage people to take the first step. Too often, as you mentioned earlier, people are just waiting. Mm-hmm. They're waiting way too long until their body falls apart to a point where their house is very close to being on fire. And I just want to encourage people, we're here to help you at any phase of that, but if you know something is off, let's start that journey. Like, let's start. Put your foot through the door. We're really, really nice. We have a welcoming staff and amazing doctors, and we really want to serve and help those in need. And unfortunately, so many people are out there just suffering. So we just really want to reach them and help them know there are answers.
I agree. You have one body your whole life. Take care of it. You are worth it. Is there anything else left to be said? I mean, go take care of yourself.
It's easier and even more cost effective to take care of it earlier on.
Exactly. Be proactive.
Yes, so much easier that way.
Exactly. Well, we've been talking with Jacqueline Berens, Dr. Jackie, the Wellness Way in Centennial. Once again, their phone number is 303-668-2103, and they're off of, what's your address? The new location again?
We are 9250 East Costilla Avenue, we're Suite 300 in the Core Co-working Building.
Nice. Right. And Greenwood Village. But again, those that aren't here, they have Zoom.
We do. So, we see patients remotely across the U.S. as well as internationally. Our labs are able to drop ship that individualized testing pretty much anywhere in the world. It's amazing.
In the world?
Correct.
Wow.
Yes.
That's no excuses, right? Right here. I mean, amazing. If someone's like, hey, I can't get to you, that's not the correct decision.
Correct.
And your email address, just for those that are maybe listening in their home, wellnesswaycentennial.com. And you can find all their services. They have reels, their Facebook page. I mean, and they post frequently on their Facebook page and give very helpful hints of what to try and change a little bit in your diet or life. I find it very, very helpful. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you again for being here. We so appreciate it. And again, for those of you that didn't get to hear it all, we will post on YouTube here in a couple days for the full interview. And thank you again for listening in a special interview on K4CO Radio. Have a wonderful Friday, everybody.